It was the best mission in the world. Went from the Oklahoma Tulsa mission, the only true mission, OTM, to the ABM, the Arkansas Bentonville mission. Kind of renamed it from the only true mission to the Almighty's best mission. It was I can't remember the other acronyms, but there was a lot of pride in the mission, a lot of pride, a lot of hope, a lot of good people, a lot of good missionaries. I don't remember a whole lot as far as the history in that area. I think the biggest thing is probably with Arkansas is it's the headquarters of Walmart, so you meet a lot of people there. So there's a decent amount of history. You just gotta keep your eyes and ears out open. There's a good amount there. With the religious climate and the challenges there's a big difference. Just going from Salt Lake to that area of Missouri and Arkansas and Oklahoma, there's a huge culture shift. Religion is huge over there, which I wasn't accustomed to. All I knew was the church, was the Latter-day Saint Church. I had heard of Baptists and Catholics, but really didn't know anything else but that. I didn't know what they were or what they believed, anything like that. And it wasn't until I was basically thrown in head first into that culture, which the culture was, you talked about church. That was just part of your everyday talk and everyday life. Whereas here, it's not. It's a little bit more taboo than anything. You still talk about it, but when you come into work on Monday, you don't necessarily talk. If you do, you do. But if you don't, it's not a big deal. If anything, if you're a member and you're talking to a friend that's not a member, you don't really talk about church. Out of 10 times, it maybe happens once. Whereas out there, it happens more times than not. Where you go into work, people go into work on Monday, or you talk with them on a Monday, and you're like, hey, how was your weekend? You not only talk about Saturday and Friday, Saturday, you talk about Sunday, your church worship, what happens, who speaks, what rituals are done, things like that. Talk about the doctrines that are taught. A decent, in-depth talk about church. It was a culture shock, but it was a good culture shock. I liked it. It was good to find out what religions, what cultures were there. Very much Christian churches over there, a lot of Baptists, a few Catholics. Mostly it was the Hispanics that were Catholics, but many Baptist. There were some atheists and whatnot, but a lot of Baptists, a lot of Christian denominations there, even some non-denominational, but still believed in Christ and God. But there were even a few Eastern religions like Hindus and Buddhists, but very, very religiously diversified. Everybody was very strong and knew, or at least thought they knew, their religions and practiced it as best as they could, and were very, very devout, good people. Obviously, didn't have the whole truth from what we know in the LDS church, but it was an awakening to me to see how devout my brothers and sisters could be to any religion, and to see that they really wanted to follow whoever or whatever it is that they wanted to. It was wonderful to see that. It was a great change in that respect. As far as missionary work goes, I would assume just without any mission, you're gonna work. You get up at 6:30, and your day starts, and your day does not end until your eyelids close. You are constantly. You're either praying, you're walking, you're studying, you're teaching, you're doing something. You're always doing something. Even as just eating. There were times where I was either eating breakfast or eating lunch and knew I needed to study heavily for some investigators, just because I knew that the study time wasn't going to be enough. Just the 1 hour that I had, I was like, this is not going to be enough. I need as much time as I can get to study. And then once 10 o'clock hits, we're out, we're hitting the pavement hard, either have our driving figured out, or our biking figured out, walking figured out, knowing who we're going to see that day, getting out, getting to work. If you're afraid to work, being a missionary is not for you. You got to be ready to get up, get going, and serve our brothers and sisters, be able to share the message of the gospel of Jesus Christ with them. There's at least a branch, if not a ward, in just about every single city or combined cities of the mission. I don't think there's too many branches. There are more wards than there are branches, but there's not a temple necessarily in the mission. The closest ones are the one in Kansas City. There's the St. Louis one, the one in Little Rock, I believe, and then Oklahoma City. The only way we were able to be able to go to those outside the mission was if we had a recent convert who's going for their first time for baptisms, and we could take them there if we got permission from the mission president. Either that or they were getting their endowments. We had taught and saw all the way through baptism, and taught the converts even after that, and they were getting ready for their endowments. We were able to go with them to the temple to receive their endowments. And so I was fortunate that I had a convert in Bartlesville, actually. Her name was Larice. Short little black lady. She was wonderful. I ended up baptizing her, and that next week, Bishop insisted that she join the ward to go on a ward temple trip to the Oklahoma City temple. So we got permission for that, and it was wonderful to see her enter the waters of baptism for her ancestors, and the bishop even himself helped her find some ancestors to be able to take to the temple. So that was really fun. I think that President Loveland, who's serving now, might have changed temple attendance for missionaries now. Might have to ask him about that, or whoever ends up coming in next. I think his service might be up here soon, but there are unfortunately no temples in the mission itself. So